The first Dusk Diver game has some potential to be good, but overall did not leave me with a very favorable impression. So why did I buy the sequel that could have possibly wasted more of my time? Curiosity. And you know what curiosity did to the cat. It killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. If this weird proverb were to be personified, it would likely come in the form of Dusk Diver 2. While I would never recommend Dusk Diver to my friends or viewers looking for a brawler type game, or any new game to play for that matter, Dusk Diver 2 is a completely different story. It seems like they learned from all their past mistakes. Literally every complaint I had has been addressed in some way. As far as sequels go, this is what a properly executed one looks like. My biggest gripe with Dusk Diver was that the entire game was stale and repetitive. For Dusk Diver 2, they've managed to make it better without needing to overhaul the entire system. Combat has been improved drastically across the board in terms of both fun and feel. Yumo's old allies, Bahit, Viata, and Leo now join her on the battlefield instead of being summoned out, so it feels more lively when the action begins. Best of all, they're all playable, each with their own unique styles. I haven't tried them out since I was more focused on mastering Yumo, who fits the type of aggressive playstyle I like. What really made the difference was Yumo's new kit that gave her more combo routes to go through. Well, it's still mostly matching the basic attack button, but with the introduction of skills, it actually feels like I could potentially keep up the attacks and make it feel like a true combo. I'm still trying to figure something out so I can make a banger combo video like the man, the legend, Sunhai Legend, but unfortunately nothing is really working out the way I want. Some of the difficulties come from how juggling and pushback is handled. Having multiple characters attack the same enemy can cause one another's attacks to whiff at times. It's somewhat annoying to have an enemy I'm hitting get slightly pushed out of range by an ally and forcing me to reset. There are also some issues with sticking with enemies where attacks or assists will just outright miss because of my proximity. I feel like lock-on should help alleviate this issue, but it doesn't work as well as I would have liked. In the grand scheme though, these things aren't that big a deal because they're actually pretty infrequent, so combat still remains enjoyable. What really sells it for me is the break strike. It only occurs when an enemy gets put into a break state with repeated attacks or when a skill delivers a critical hit, knocking them into the wall. It just feels so satisfying to use at the end of a combo, and it works great as a finisher move. As much as I like the combat, it's actually a little surprising to me that I didn't get bored of it since I do use a lot of the same moves over and over again. I think there are a few reasons for this. The first is that enemies are actually a bit more interesting. Various new opponents have been implemented, each with their own unique behavior, strengths, and weaknesses. There are the familiar Chaos Beasts, robots that fire rockets from a distance, and robots that can become immune to hit stun. The last ones were a little more annoying to deal with since they counter my button mashing, but certain skills are also able to knock them prone. I liked that these forced me to change up my flowchart attacks and try different things. It gets a bit more interesting when I run into bigger boss-like monsters. These guys have all the armor in the world and hit like trucks. Introducing new enemies along with the vastly different landscapes in each chapter played no small role in revitalizing the gameplay. Again, one of my prior complaints is that there was basically not enough variety in anything and everything felt the same. The enemies were the same and there was basically only one level, which was Yoshating, a basically inverted world of Shimenting. It was like an inescapable reverb of dullness, but with more places to explore and foes to fight, a much needed breath of fresh air was brought in. I was immediately impressed with the first level designed to look like an arcade. It gave off a completely different feeling to the dread I was so accustomed to. I actually felt excited, like how someone should feel when they decide to step foot into a game center. I had to collect coins to move forward, and the combat on the air hockey table was ripe with danger as pucks would make their rounds across the arena. Other levels felt more alive as well, giving new sights to see and incorporating different colors to make them feel distinct from each other. In addition, Shimenting has been expanded on, though some areas like the movie theater have been removed. There is now a little section to the south that has a few new shops. 2 new districts have also been added that make the world feel a lot bigger and less suffocating from being restricted to Shimenting the entire time. Not only that, it's much more lively than it was before. We still have various side quests that can be completed, and pictures to find off the ground. But the appearance of the possessed makes the district feel less empty, though it does get annoying running into them sometimes. It helps that the game just looks nicer in general as well. Graphic fidelity looks much improved with more details in level textures, assets, and character models, giving the game a more immersive feel. One of my new favorite additions, and possibly the main reason why I will never get tired of combat, has got to be the gear system. The team can now equip armor, helmets, and accessories along with gems that give extra passives. Why this matters is because I actually get to customize my characters outside of just raising their stats, which is also pretty useful for creating strong characters, but it just doesn't have the same level of influence. Since I only played Yumo, I turned her into my Berserker Glass Cannon who has 0 defense and gets her health drained every time she attacks, but dishes out double the damage anyone else does. It actually worked a little too well, so much so that I'm having too much fun to try out the rest of the cast. Outside of the gameplay, improvements have also been made to the writing. I found the story to be much more engaging with new characters, additional backstory to existing characters, and a new plot that leaves just enough to keep me interested while simultaneously keeping me in the dark and curious about what's coming next. For instance, they introduced this new guy that looks like a villain right out of Persona 5, so I knew he was going to play some type of role, but I couldn't figure it out until much later. While there have been vast improvements, there are still some minor polish issues that I feel like are worth mentioning. Given that the developers are from Taiwan, whose main language is not English, it's not unusual to expect some awkward phrasing or grammatical errors. But when Idea Factory is publishing the work for the Western market, I expect a little better. There were a few cases of typos and some sentences being somewhat unusual, but overall not a big deal and something I wouldn't expect people to care about. I've also noticed that Yumo's VO from time to time sounded a little scratchy, as if they amplified the volume too much.
そしたらバッヘは自分は菜食主義者だって怒ってたよ。
It's something I've noticed with some of my recordings too when I yell too close into the mic, so I'm curious if this is something on the voice actor or the production side of things. Overall though, damn. Wanin Games definitely showed that they're not going to take the crap I said about the previous Dusk Diver lying down. It's almost like they saw my video and told me I'm gonna eat my words. Now before anyone comments that the developers didn't watch my video, I already know that because no one watches my videos. But it really seems like they did, since everything I didn't like has been modified in some way. On the other hand, it still comes a bit short when I compare it to my experience playing other similar games like Ys, Bayonetta, or Devil May Cry, but I don't think they're trying to go for the same thing. I only wish combos were a little easier to execute with less knockback, but I'm going to ultimately chalk it up to lack of skills and creativity on my part. After the first game, I was not excited for anything coming out from Wanin Games, but after Dusk Diver 2, I'm ready for their announcement for Dusk Diver 3.